Welcome to Izigos, where we talk raw, real, and unfiltered about the trucking industry, the good, the bad, and the straight up broken. But we don't leave it there. We also empower those ready to reclaim and drive the future of the trucking industry. Today, we're diving deep into how freight rates ignoring driver performance is the silent destroyer of the trucking industry. This episode isn't just talk, it's a wake up call. And by the end of this episode, we'll change how you view analytics in the trucking industry and realize by ignoring trucking data, it's costing you big. So come on into the lounge. That's Izigos, the Truckers Lounge.
You know what I'm saying? Ha 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 ha. Hands held high, raise them up to the sky. Never let them low, only thought you should know. Hands held high, raise them up to the sky.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Tracy.
And I'm KT.
And we are your co-hosts of Izigos, the Truckers Lounge. How are you feeling today, KT?
I'm all about big trucks, big profits. Anything to help the industry, to help us grow together. Not individually, but together as a unit.
So, are you ready to get into today's topic?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So, let's get real. Performance drives pay in almost every industry, right? Sales reps get commission. Athletes get bonuses, right? And even in hourly jobs, the best employees, they earn raises, they get performance bonuses, and even the more desirable shifts. Why? Because results matter. Yet in trucking, the industry too often pays flat rates across the board, treating high-performing carriers who are always on time, have really good on-time delivery rates, who are very efficient, who have safety performance. They treat them the same as the late ones who are reckless or unreliable. And not only is it unfair, but it's actually bad business. And we're going to talk about that today because that's a problem, because it punishes the professionals and props up the slackers.
May I interrupt for a second?
Sure.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's not just about paying the same rate across the board. What you have is unscrupulous brokers who actually want to pay the less amount possible to the professional, keyword professional, to the professional driver. They're willing to take that risk in more cases than not with a more volatile driver or carrier or owner operator in the name of having bigger profits. And really that's what we want to address here today, because it's really nothing showing monitoring the day-to-day great driver versus the day-to-day average driver or below driver. It's all about who will do it the cheapest.
Wow. Okay. And in today's episode, we're going to really highlight why that's costing the entire industry and really even costs brokers and shippers and receivers in the long run.
Absolutely.
Would you think? Okay.
Absolutely.
But we're going to have a little fun with it before, we drive home the take home points. So we're going to play a little game where we compare two drivers, and we want you to get involved with this too, watchers, audience, as you watch this episode. So again, let's have a little fun with this. So pretend we have two drivers, and we're going to compare some analytics between the two drivers. And based on those analytics, in the comments below, you tell us, in your opinion, based on those analytics, are these drivers the same? Should they get paid the same rate? Or is one driver clearly better than the other? Or is it a coin flip? Or do you think either one could get the job done based on the analytics that you see? Does that sound about right?
Yeah, it sounds good. And I want to keep in mind we're not going to make this very difficult. It's really going to be obvious. But the reason we're making it so obvious so you can understand how important it is to be able to differentiate between the average driver, the great driver, and the below average driver, and how it really affects the whole economy as well, safety, profits, you know what I mean? Just everything. It's all encompassed.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's not going to be that difficult, people.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be obvious.
All right. Perfect.
Go ahead, Tracy.
Okay. So here's round one. Round one. So the objective here in round one is we got 2 drivers. The goal, the shipper wants these drivers to deliver as many loads as possible across 3 warehouse zones for a national retailer. Now we have Reggie. Here are his stats, and we'll put them up on the screen.
Everybody knows a truck driver named Reggie. Go ahead.
And we'll put the stats up on the screen. So Reggie, he was assigned 20 loads. He actually delivered 19. His on-time delivery rate is 84%. Do you actually know your on-time delivery rate? That's the question. He cancels 5% of his loads on average. And his customer feedback score is 3.7 out of 5. Reggie got a little 2, okay? On the other hand, we have Terry. He was assigned 17 loads. He actually delivered 17. His on-time delivery rate is 100%. He did not cancel any loads. And his customer feedback score is 4.9 out of 5. So put in the comments below between Reggie and Terry, who do you think is the better carrier? Who's operating at a more optimal rate? What would you say to that, Kevin?
By briefly looking over it, I'd say if I was a warehouse or a broker or whatnot, I would definitely be more interested in Terry.
Okay.
Even willing to give him more percentage of the pay rate of the load, because me just looking at it, glancing Reggie seems a little bit, it would keep me up at night.
Okay.
I wouldn't be able to enjoy dinner with my significant other, knowing that Reggie was hauling my load.
Okay. All right.
If he did make it on time and everything went, oh man, it would be a bit sigh of relief.
Okay.
But it would be just like I was doing that delivery with them.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so let's go to round 2.
Absolutely.
Round 2. All right, we got Reggie and Terry again. This time, Reggie is assigned 42 loads. He completed 41. His on-time delivery rate is 98%. He canceled 2%. And his average broker rating this time is 4.8. On the other hand, in contrast, we got Terry. He was assigned 16 loads. He completed all 16. His on-time delivery rate is 88%. He canceled 6% of his loads, and his average broker rating is 4.2. In round 2, KT, who would you be more inclined to do business with?
Well, it seems to me, as I look at this, Reggie seems like he don't made a comeback.
Okay.
And see, anybody who's in the trucking business, no 2 days are alike.
Right.
You have peaks and valleys, and it's really, like a game of momentum. Mm-hmm. See, that's why it's so important, to have these data, like real-time data. It looked like Reggie, for the past 2 weeks, has figured it out. Mm-hmm. And he's on a uptick. Mm-hmm. So really, in all actuality, I wouldn't want to hold him to the fire. Mm-hmm. How he was looking last month or 6 months ago, it looked like he don't figured it out. He probably got a PM. Things are going a little better at the house or what or whatnot. But we know those are that boots on the ground. When it comes to the trucking industry and doing business, we know it's a very volatile business. Is that the word I want to use?
Sure.
Okay, yeah. It's a very volatile business. It's hand in hand you know, and those that well, we ain't gonna get into that. We'll just keep it. We'll keep it out the streets.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
For the female truck drivers, but yeah, it's a very volatile. I would love to have real time data, up to date data that's constantly updating, having an algorithm on a daily basis. Go ahead.
So let me ask you another question. What about the fact that Terry actually completed all of his assigned loads as opposed to Reggie who missed one? How do you interpret that? Or factor that?
Well, I'm factoring because if you look at the statistics, it looks like, he's basically trying to run a gamut for those who play chess. He actually canceled 6% of his loads. As I look at it, you know what I'm saying? Well, Reggie only counsel 2%. So it's a lot of things that can go into counseling. A lot of drivers, a lot of carriers, they may counsel for a numerous amount of reasons. One, it might be total honest. For whatever reason, something that was really legible or unforeseen circumstances might have caused them to have to cancel, a breakdown, or whatever, got held up on another load that held them in detention for an extreme amount of time. But then those are the drivers or the carriers. I'm gonna let the brokers in on a little secret. Sometimes you might have booked the load and one of your regular brokers maybe called you with a different load that's paying a little more. So you might come up with an excuse. And so, and it might not be a victim of coincidentals, so that 6%, that's not extremely high, but I would definitely like to see if this is a pattern. It's just 6% of a pattern, or he just had a situation, for the last couple of weeks. That's why it's important. Data is important,
right,
on both sides.
So really, it would be more informative to kind of know what kind of time frame those cancellations happen, whether or not those.
I would, it's almost like the stock market. I'll be looking for patterns if I'm on the broker side. If I see that once a month or every other week that he has a 6% cancellation rate, then I know something is up. If he have a cancellation rate of 6%, like once a quarter, that's different.
Okay. All right. So time frame makes a difference.
Time frame make a difference, especially if I notice a pattern.
Now, what is this about these broker ratings? Could you go into detail about the broker ratings, like for people who may be a little bit new to the industry? Are carriers aware of the broker ratings?
When you say broker rating, so you saying for as on the broker side for as rating the carriers?
Yes.
Yes, they are. But here's the thing. Usually, especially when you have like the big carriers, the big brokers. When you have the big brokers, they usually have their own load board, and they usually have their own honorary system. So, yeah, they're keeping tabs on how successful you are about doing their loads without any problems. The only thing about that, of course, if you're a carrier, you have many options. You might be have a relationship with 20 brokers. So you might dealt with one brokerage for X amount of time, but then you might have dealt with them in 2 to 3 weeks. Well, this is where it'd be advantageous for the broker. You only monitoring the on-time rates of the deliveries that's been done within your load and your load board. Where obviously, if you haven't seen that carrier or that driver in a couple of weeks or even a couple of days, and he been delivering doing brokering deals with other brokers, wouldn't you like to know what that performance was between the other brokers as well? Mm-hmm. To make you have a better informed decision? Mm-hmm. And vice versa. You know what I'm saying? If you was a carrier and you've been dealing with a particular broker, when you want to know the relationship that broker has with other drivers and other carriers, real up-to-date time, how, because, like I said, it's very volatile. Brokers could, ran into a certain hardship and not doing business as fairly as they were just as much as last week. It will be, advantageous as a carrier. Do I want to broker at a low with this particular brokering company, and they don't run into hard times? It might be trying to make a clean getaway.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And so currently in the market, there's no way for carriers to really have information about the different brokers out there. Is you're really taking a chance when you're doing business with the brokers.
You're taking a chance.
Doing word of mouth.
You can do word of mouth, or I give you another little secret. For those who pay attention to every detail of their business, 9 times out of 10, if you are a carrier, you probably have a factoring company. And, we'll have another segment going deep into the factoring companies. But the factoring company usually have a credit rating for the brokers. And really, in all actuality, before you book that load with that broker, you should always check with the factoring company and see what their credit rating is and what their line of credit is. Because if you see a severe drop off for their credit line, that means that even though that broker might have been upstanding for you for 3, 4, 5 years, you see a significant drop off on his line of credit, then that means that brokerage is running into some type of issues, and you might be a little leery on booking a load with that particular broker.
Okay.
So it's volatile on both sides.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So analytics are important. Data is important.
Oh, yeah. Real-time data is important.
Okay. All right. So let's go to our final round, round 3. Reggie and Terry again. This time we have a different set of matrix.
Okay.
Reggie did 152 loads for the month, and we'll show that
He
information.
got them antennas bent back. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm going to assume that's some trucker talk. So, and as opposed to Terry, who only did 54 total loads for the month, Reggie did a 96% on-time delivery rate for the month, as opposed to Terry, who did 89%. But for the past 7 days, Reggie's on-time delivery was 91% compared to Terry at 93%. Reggie had a 1.3% cancellation rate, as opposed to Terry, who had a 4.6% cancellation rate. And the customer feedback score is pretty comparable. Reggie had a 4.7, which was slightly higher, and Terry had a 4.3 customer feedback score. So what do you say between the two? Coin flip, either one can get the job done, or would you have an inclination to pick one over the other? Or should one carrier command a higher freight rate based on driver performance than the other?
I can see the pros and cons on each one on this particular round.
Okay. Walk us through that.
Well, here it is. If I was a broker, you know what I mean, I had like a new contract and I'm trying to prove myself to this particular shipper or receiver, I probably would pick Reggie.
Okay.
Because, he's out there working, He's hauling a lot of loads. And when you hauling a lot of loads, when you got 152 loads you done did in the past month, he 9 times out of 10, he working with a used vehicle. And he probably don't have some situations where he had to, change a hose or two.
Okay. You sound like you're speaking from experience.
you don't overheat it or tire blust, whatever. A lot of things can happen when you don't ran 152 loads.
Would that sort of explain what happened on the past 7 days with his percent on time rate being maybe a little bit lower than Terry's?
Yeah. He ain't giving his truck time to rest.
Okay.
Now if I had a long standing, pretty much I as a broker and me and this particular shipper or receiver, we have a good standing, long lasting relationship, pretty solid contract. And depending how long I've been trying to get rid of this load, on the load board, I might go with the hot hand, Terry. Last 7 days, he looked like, his ambition has grown. All his personal issues, he don't got it out the way, and he ready to make some money. And so I probably would, I can see the pros and cons of both.
So let's assume Terry has a new authority, and maybe that's why his load count for the month is low. Talk to us how difficult it is for carriers with new authorities to get business. How hard is that?
Yeah, so, when you have a new authority or, you just starting or your authority was suspended, if you less than 6 months, it's only really like 3 brokers you're going to be able to fool with.
Okay.
And, these 3 brokers are... Number one, probably TQL.
Okay.
Number 2, probably C.H. Robinson.
Okay.
And number 3 is Coyote.
All right.
So that's something you need to keep in mind. New carriers with your new MC numbers. You're gonna have to weather the storm for the first 6 months because none of these old other brokers really gonna deal with you if your MC number is not at least 6 months old. But here's the thing.
And why is that so critical? They think you're high risk with the new authority?
They think you're high risk.
Even if you've been driving for years, even if you have 10, 15 years in the game.
Trucking and trucking business is 2 different things.
Okay. You heard it here.
Yeah, that's 2 different things. Trucking, driving a truck, and the trucking business that's a swing of the pendulum. Those are 2 different things. So, but, once again, that 6 months, threshold can be kind of moved to the left, to the right if you had something that was collecting real-time data. Because you may be in a better situation within your first 6 months than the person who MC number is 6 years old.
Like you could have had a stronger grind in 6 months than somebody who has a 1-2 year old authority who hasn't really been grinding.
Right. Or, they might have made a couple of bad decisions. They truck, might be on the downswing. Just many things that can happen. You know what I mean? It's like the stock market, really. Trucking industry is like the stock market. You need to check every day if you can.
So really, there are some key takeaways, from this little game we played. But there's really some drive home points, really, about data. And one of those key takeaways, let's start with the first one. Data can flip the script. If the industry were to shift and rate negotiations were based on matrix, like percent on time and idle time and safety events, or anything that was really critical. It could really differentiate your high performing carriers from your lower performing carriers. And before we wrap up for today, really the irony is, for the other players in the trucking industry, meaning the brokers and the shippers and receivers, they actually have access to analytics, right? When you think about the carriers and the access to the analytics, just generally speaking, does the average carrier leverage analytics in their day to day? Like, what's the main analytics? What are the main analytics that carriers use in their day to day? But I mean, I know they use a load board.
Yeah, they use the load board and they just see what the only analytics they're using and what the average 30 or 14 day spot rate.
Right.
That's basically that the load board does for you.
So if you're a carrier, put in the comments below if you use any analytics beyond that in your day to day. We want to hear from you, right? But it's like, beyond that, what's available to you and what do you actually use? You're behind the 8 ball. It sounds like the carriers are behind the 8 ball.
They're behind the 8 ball because, just like I don't know, some rapper I listened to probably about 2 decades ago, he said, hey, the rap game going digital. It's going digital. And look what we have now. You don't have any tape cassettes or CD players. If you still trying to be outside the supermarket or the gas station trying to push your CD player, your CDs, sell your CDs out the trunk, you're obsolete. Mm-hmm. Nobody's taking you seriously. Same thing with the trucking industry. If you're a carrier or owner operator and you haven't realized that the game has went digital and you still, not taking advantage to look at the data to be able to better run your company, you putting yourself at a serious disadvantage. And as of right now, we don't have any advocates that's compiling the data for us, by us, so we can actually, use it to leverage to make sure that we have a better quality of life. Like I said in the last video, when I first got in the game, I don't know what your moral stance, I don't know what your religious belief, but it was standard. It was standard that a truck driver who had his own truck, he was able to take care of 3 families comfortably around the good old U.S. of A.
And as I said in the last episode, is that the goal?
I mean, yeah, that's the goal. That's the goal for me.
I'm not touching that.
Yeah, don't touch it. Because, I want to go back to the foundation of things.
Okay.
Put kids through college, all that stuff. He's not living just to pay the bills and be able to say he has his own company.
Okay.
Yeah, he supposed to be the elephant when he walk into the room. Who's that guy?
So
his pocket should be as big as his belly.
So when you think about the tech industry that has innovated for all the other sectors, why hasn't there been innovation for the carriers themselves?
Because it's like we stuck in nostalgia. The old school drivers like myself, we keep thinking that the market is going to bounce back to be the way it used to. And the new guys, they have no idea on what the market used to be like. Mm-hmm. You feel me? So the old drivers, they stuck in a dream, and the new drivers don't even know they supposed to have a dream. And it's only because, we're not really communicating with each other besides trying to make each other laugh and things of that nature. We really don't have anything centralized location where, we can actually, communicate with each other like we used to do. It was a such thing called a CB to the younger drivers. Of course, CBs basically became obsolete. You know, that's how we kept the bond with each other. You know, that's how we kind of felt each other while we was out there on the road. But we quite don't have that anymore. So, but we got to get back to protecting our best interests besides making each other laugh. It's good. I like the laughs. I like the little videos and things that's been put on Instagram and YouTube with everything. But, you know, this serious business, man, because, you know, you are a professional, man, and you should be paid accordingly.
All right, there you have it. Any final thoughts before we sign off today?
Nah, just make sure, you know, if you like the video, press the like button, you know, subscribe, and
comment.
Comment. You know, because that's basically what this about. I'm just trying to make us visible.
And change is coming. Just stick with us.
Yes.
All right, there you have it. So thank you. Signing off, Tracy and
KT.
From Izigos to Truckers Lounge.
Big Oso.
Until next time, take care.
All right.